Well, Prime Minister Stephen Harper and Assembly of First Nations Chief Sean Atleo have agreed to meet again. It was one of the promises to come out of a high-level meeting between the PM and Aboriginal leaders Friday, but despite the Prime Ministerial Summit and a subsequent meeting with the Governor-General, Attawapiskat Chief Teresa Spence is maintaining her so-called hunger strike. So to break down the developments, we're joined live by Brigitte Pellerin, who is in Ottawa. So first of all, let's talk about the positives of what came out Friday, or how this, I guess, differs from what we've maybe seen in the past, or if it doesn't. And then we'll move on to Chief Spence.
Sure. On Friday, and by this, when I say this, I'm not the only one saying this. I think a number of commentators and observers have been saying something along the same lines as what I'm about to say here. The meeting on Friday was excellent, not so much for what it actually did accomplish, which, as far as I know, and let's keep in mind that the media was not allowed in when they really were discussing the real issues. I don't know if a lot of progress was made on Friday on the actual issues. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I think the first time, and certainly as far as I remember in my time as observing these issues, for the first time you had a grown-up meeting and people agreeing to talk on a normal kind of basis about these issues. And that to me was a really, really good step in the right direction. And not just for me. Again, a lot of people have said something similar to what I just said, including, and here's where it's going to feel quite weird, Thomas Mulcair. The NDP leader on the weekend was on television and he said something very similar to what I just said. And in the process, and here's my segue into Chief Spence, urge her to just, get on with her life and go back to Attawapiskat and look after her people and that so-called hunger strike. Here's what he said. I would sincerely call upon Chief Spence to realize that there has been a step in the right direction, to try and see now if we can keep putting pressure on the government to follow through. I think that the best thing to do would be to step back from that now. And again, she's been encamped on Victoria Island right here off Parliament Hill since December 11th. Who's looking after her reserve in Attawapiskat? Well, not her for sure, since she's not there. So I think at this point it is incumbent upon her to stop with that silly so-called hunger strike, which is in fact a liquid diet. And she seems quite well for somebody who's been on a hunger strike for more than a month, if you ask me, and go back to Attawapiskat and start looking after her own affairs there.
Yeah, what is she still demanding at this point? Does she want yet another meeting?
She wants the same thing she's actually always demanded, which is a meeting between First Nations leaders and a number of them, not just her, and the Prime Minister and the Governor-General in the same room at the same time. She's always demanded that. What she got on Friday, which was the two meetings separately in different locations, was not what she wanted. So in that sense, she's not demanding something else. She's still demanding the same thing. But I think most reasonable people are saying, listen, what you got was the best you could get. And I think at this point you should say, okay, good enough, let's move on.
Yeah, and a number of, I guess, top Aboriginal chiefs are also saying enough with the theatrics. It's time to move forward. We've actually made some progress here. We want to continue with that, and you're not helping.
Including, and some people say the I Don't Know More movement is from people, some chiefs that were opposing Sean Atleo last year in the election. And in fact, Perry Bellegarde was one of the chiefs who was running against him, was even on our network this weekend saying it's time now for everybody to unite against Sean Atleo and move on.
When we went 24 hours of voting in Calgary, and there was 8 ballots, and when National Chief Atleo was elected, because we ran against each other, I got up on that stage and said this: the election is over. Let's unite our people from coast to coast to coast. Let's work together, because we need to put our energies and our hearts and minds together. We can't be divided on any of these issues anymore. We can't be divided.
So Chief Bellegarde, Chief Atleo, these are the chiefs of the future. These are the people we should talk to and ignore the guys who want to just protest and have blockades.
Yeah. All right, we'll continue watching because they do have more protests planned, and we'll see how it's going to disrupt or not disrupt your lives. Thanks, Brigitte.
Thank you.